behind. Bad bitches, every city in my tribe. Look behind. Booty dominate.
I would argue that women have just as many strengths when it comes to war in terms of strategy and tactological advances.
Okay, so let me ask you this. So
and I
if you
can
had
make a biological argument that women should rule the world because we create life, and therefore we are essentially the closest thing there is to a resemblance of God. And because men are stronger, you guys should just serve us and be our slaves.
Listen, don't do that.
We can just harvest your semen and we can be goddesses and eat grapes while you take care of us. Like, I can make a biological argument to show that women should dominate men.
Oh my goodness! Here we go. My look.
That's how ridiculous you sound. Yes.
No, it's not ridiculous. What I'm saying is there's a lot of pushback by the far left, and you have this whole idea of wokeism to say that men are invalid and that we need to somehow turn around and switch gender.
You have an idea of wokeism, and apparently it's eliminating all men, which it isn't.
No, but I'm saying that's the push, though. The push now is, think about it. There's a hashtag. No, listen. No, but listen what I'm saying. Listen what I'm saying. There was a hashtag not too long ago saying KAM. You know what that means? Kill all men. And so people want to talk about...
No, not the hashtags. Not Twitter. That's definitely indicative of the real world.
It is indicative of the real world.
No, it's
not. Social media... Oh, absolutely. And let me tell you why.
Minority of people that share things.
No, let me tell you something. Social media is a very good way to understand what the people are thinking and what they're talking about. And so you have now, because again, people talk about misogyny, and of course you have people who are misogynistic, of course, but not a lot of people talk about hatred of men. You have misandry also. You have hashtags of people talking about killing all men. You have people saying that men are bad.
Do you want to know? Do you want to know what was trending on Twitter after the KAM thing?
Okay, what's up?
RAW, R word, all women.
Man, who in the hell said that? Really?
Yeah.
Oh, so somehow that's a surprise.
Okay, wait. Have you heard the saying, like,
that's crazy.
Stop talking. Have you guys heard the saying, like, what do men fear most in a group of women? It is to be laughed at. What do women fear most in a group of men? It is to be murdered.
Well, yeah. Oh, look. My thing is this. Like I said, if we want to build our society forward, then we have to adhere to some type of gender role. You have to. That's really how our society has been built forth to this point.
By your gender. You do not have to be bound by your gender.
And again, when I asked you earlier, name the unintended consequences of egalitarianism, you balked and pivoted.
No, I didn't. No, I can answer the question. I didn't balk and pivot, but I can answer the question.
So give me an example of what would falter if we move towards a more egalitarian system that abolishes gender roles.
Well, okay, so let's go for it. So so let's use Sweden and the Scandinavian countries as a perfect example because they are egalitarian. They are egalitarian.
They're also the happiest nations on the planet.
But guess what, though? But you know what? Even though things are egalitarian, you still are going to have more men out there who are going to be builders, which is based into what? Traditional gender roles. Do you know why? Because in those countries it gets mad cold. No, but that's what I'm talking about. My thing is that because of our biology, we have a tendency to pursue
it's just a naturalistic fallacy. You can't tell me that men are more qualified to be builders than women just because you have one biological advantage.
Well, then tell me why in an egalitarian country like a Sweden or any Scandinavian countries, that even there, you still have men that go after what traditional gender roles or their jobs, which are be builders
and the way that our society has been structured. Yes, there is still occupational segregation when it comes to women. That's why typically when you see women in medical fields, they're assumed to be a nurse, where when you see a man in a medical field, they're assumed to be a doctor.
But in Sweden, because Jaden brought up egalitarian countries that they're happier. But my thing is that even in those countries,
there still are attitudes present because of the system that we have designed that has been upheld for the last few centuries.
In a lot of these countries, even with Finland, that's okay. So I'll even mention that. Even in countries like Finland, you have.
Just didn't want to register what I said, but go ahead.
No, I heard what you said. You have most of the cabinet, which are filled with women still. You know what I mean? So my thing is that even in those countries, you're still going to have differences between the sexes as far as which
Changes
one
don't
pursues.
happen overnight.
And
Changes don't happen overnight. I mean, in the United States, women just got the ability to get a credit card in the 70s.
Well, no, and I hear what you're saying, but my thing is that again, we should embrace gender roles. It's not a wrong thing to do. I think we should embrace them. And then if you want to just remove them entirely, they're going to have consequences.
Needs to be bound by their gender.
You won't name what those consequences are.
You are literally putting people in a box, and we just want to not be put in a box, that you can do whatever you want. Like, your ability is not limited because you are a man or because you are a woman.
Okay,
again,
so let's go to
conjecture. You can't
no,
name
it's not
what
conjecture.
those consequences are. It is conjecture.
No, it's not conjecture.
In my opinion, we should lower the divorce rate and increase the overall happiness rate, which would mean abolishing the nuclear family, but that's just me.
Yeah, even if we look at families who are not male and female, or I should say man and woman, who are lesbian couples, gay couples, non-binary couples, as long as there's two people in the home, the outcomes for children are the same.
Okay. So then also, I wanted to focus on something else you said when you talked about toxic masculinity. So I wanted to get a little bit of clarity from you. What do you think toxic masculinity is, and what does that mean to you? I guess you were anyone in the panel.
It's kind of like when Kenzie says something and you start screaming and your voice gets a little bit louder and louder and louder.
That's not toxic. That's just me being passionate, having discussion.
No,
that's not being.
I think that's your exertion of your dominance over me. Maybe it's not.
Okay,
a conscious thing that you're doing. Maybe it's just a
so if I speak with bass in my voice, it's somehow trying to suppress you.
Toxic masculinity is typically defined as 4 behavioral traits, which is stoicism, competitiveness, aggression, and dominance, and they're to a degree where the trait has become toxic.
Well, I don't think so. Look, again, I don't think there's anything wrong with being competitive. You know what I mean?
There's healthy competition. Trait itself. I'm saying men have been taught to be competitive to a toxic level, which are ideas that that you need to win at all costs, that you need to bully other people in order to keep a competitive edge. It is a framework to where now the behavior is toxic.
Okay, so let's say you remove the bullying aspect out of it. Is it still toxic then? Being competitive.
So I want you to think of it as like a level base or a spectrum even. Like, being competitive is not toxic, but you can have it at a degree where it is toxic, like the ways I just mentioned, where you have this mindset that you need to win at all costs, where you have this mindset that you need to bully people to keep a competitive edge. So the trait has become toxic, just like with aggression or dominance.
Okay, so what's your thing with being someone being assertive or being? Do you think that's toxic? Someone being assertive or being more aggressive?
There's nothing wrong with someone being assertive. I didn't list assertive. I said aggressive and dominance.
To be toxic,
the point that has become toxic is where, and I think this is kind of where your framework is to be very misogynistic. Is that you view men to be head of household, therefore they are in a dominant position of women, and that is a toxic way to look at a relationship, because you should be equal partners.
See, but that's the thing.
And I think that's why a lot of men also commit sexual violence.
Well, those who commit sexual violence, that's a criminal act and that's wrong. But I'll get to that in a minute.
Right, but the behaviors are about aggression and dominance, and aggression can reach a level of violence. Dominant can reach, again, a level to where you want to literally dominate and control someone's body in a violent manner. So these are all things that can, even stoicism. And another reason that it becomes so toxic is because when men don't subscribe to these ideologies, then they are viewed as less than men or less of a man. And then they struggle with their own masculinity. And even when we look at toxic masculinity, typically, like, it's very hurtful for the person who also possesses it, because they typically engage in more risky behaviors. They don't take care of themselves. They don't do preventative health care. Like, they can't be viewed as weak. They don't want to cry. Like, it's such a multitude of things.
Okay, so let's talk about that. I'm glad you brought that up. So I don't think there's anything wrong with a man being able to control his emotions, especially in a very tense situation. I think if we're talking about in the framework of a society and a family, a man's job is to be the leader in his house and to protect his family. And so in order for him to do that, he has to have a level of calmness. He has to be cool and collected, and he has to be
That's
able
not
to protect his
stoicism.
wife. But hold on, I'm about to get to that. And
Go ahead.
so,
Sorry.
no, that's not fine. It's fine. It's no problem. And so a man's job is to keep cool under pressure. So what does that entail? He has to be able to control his emotion, right? Now that may look,
this is so
now that may
annoying to
look
me.
stoic. Now that, well, that's fine. That may be
No. Because would you say femininity is the opposite of masculinity?
Say that again.
Okay, so like if a man's job is to be in control of his emotions, conversely, do you think a woman's job is to be emotional?
I'm not saying that a woman it should be emotional or should not be emotional. What I'm saying is that in the context of masculinity, that's what I was addressing. So in the context
is femininity emotionalism if masculinity is the absence of emotionalism?
Well, I'll address femininity in a minute. Right now, I'm talking about masculinity because she asked me, the host.
Right.
So my thing is that because you mentioned about holding your emotions, but if you're talking about protecting your house and making sure that your wife or girlfriend or significant other is confident in you, then you have to be able to control your emotions. You have to have some level of stoicism. Think about it. If you're with a guy, hold on, think about it.
The lack of control of your emotions when it comes to stoicism, because with toxic masculinity, men are told the only emotion that they feel that is valid is anger, which is why men are, boys don't cry, toughen up, don't act like a girl. Those create a framework in a man's mind to where if they cry, they are less of a man. And that is a toxic idea.
No, men have emotions, they just don't display them.
That's a problem.
That's the thing. But no, that's the thing. My thing is that, what's the irony of this whole conversation is? Now, people say, okay, men need to be in touch with their emotions.
It is okay for men to cry. Do you think that, would you ever tell, let me ask you just a quick question, and then you can go on. Would you ever tell a little boy to stop, don't be a girl?
Do I tell him not to be a girl?
Yeah, like don't be a girl, don't cry, toughen up.
Yeah, I would tell him to toughen up, yes.
But would you say like don't be a girl about it?
Yeah, I would tell him that.
So what would you say towards a girl that cries?
That comment right there is inherently misogynistic, because you are essentially telling a little boy that the worst thing that he can be is a girl.
No, I didn't say that.
And you're directly contributing to why the male suicide rates are as high as they are. Just starting out.
Okay,
you wouldn't apply those same terms to a girl that's crying. So yeah, there is a skew that's present in your misogyny.
No, well, I disagree with that, because the thing of it is that
regardless,
I disagree.
Well, it doesn't matter if you disagree. That is inherently misogynistic.
I disagree. I don't think it's misogynistic.
It absolutely is.
It's not misogynistic to say
you're applying one standard
it's not misogynistic to nope. It's not It's not misogynistic to say to a man to toughen up, to be strong, and to control his emotions.
We said don't be a girl.
It's not misogynistic to say that.
It absolutely is, because you are telling him the worst thing that he can be is a woman. And therefore, if that is the worst thing that he can be, then you are telling him as a man he is better.
I think you're oversimplifying what I said. I didn't say the worst thing.
No,
I didn't. You said the worst thing. I said that the worst thing for a man to be is a girl. I didn't say that. I said don't be a girl in the context of hold on.
Girl. If you are telling a little boy don't be a girl, you are implicitly telling him one of the worst things that he can be is a girl.
I'm so fucking cute, bitch.